Something just happened to XRP that has the entire crypto market watching closely right now. Because according to traders, analysts, and online communities, XRP may have just broken a major level. And honestly, the reaction across the market feels very different this time. Social media exploded instantly. Crypto influencers started posting nonstop. XRP holders became emotional overnight. And now investors everywhere are asking the exact same question. Could the next XRP move shock the entire market? Because whenever a major level breaks in crypto, everything can change very fast. Momentum changes. Market psychology changes. Fear turns into excitement almost instantly. And suddenly everyone starts paying attention again. Now, before we go any further, let's make something extremely important clear immediately, because the crypto industry exaggerates headlines faster than almost anything online. There's no guaranteed evidence XRP is about to explode overnight. There's no official confirmation proving Ripple suddenly controls global finance tomorrow. And this video is definitely not financial advice. But what we are going to discuss is why XRP continues attracting enormous attention, why institutional blockchain conversations are accelerating globally, and why many supporters believe Ripple may already be positioned around one of the biggest financial infrastructure transformations in modern history. Because honestly, once you really begin understanding how financial systems themselves are evolving, the excitement surrounding XRP suddenly starts making much more sense. Now think carefully about what's happening globally right now, all at the same time. Artificial intelligence is transforming industries overnight. Governments are building digital finance frameworks aggressively. Banks are modernizing settlement infrastructure globally. Asset managers are exploring tokenization at massive scale. And institutions everywhere are preparing for increasingly digital financial ecosystems. That transformation is very real. And the craziest part? Most ordinary people still don't fully realize how enormous this transition could eventually become. Now think carefully about why major levels matter psychologically in markets. Markets are emotional. Fear and greed constantly drive investor behavior. When important levels break, people start believing momentum itself may be changing. That emotional shift can become extremely powerful, especially in crypto. Because crypto markets move heavily through narrative, psychology, and momentum. That's exactly why XRP communities exploded with excitement after recent market movements. Because supporters believe the market may finally be starting to recognize Ripple's long-term positioning. Now, let's talk about Ripple specifically, because honestly, this is where things become especially interesting. Ripple spent years focusing on institutional infrastructure instead of retail hype cycles. Cross-border settlement, liquidity movement, financial interoperability, payment modernization. Those are trillion-dollar institutional conversations. And now suddenly, the financial world itself appears to be moving directly toward the exact areas Ripple spent years preparing for. That's why supporters believe XRP may continue attracting increasing institutional attention quietly behind the scenes. Now think carefully about this. For years, the crypto industry mostly revolved around meme coins, retail speculation, short-term hype, social media pumps. But now, the conversation is evolving rapidly. Institutions are discussing tokenization. Governments are building digital asset regulations. Banks are integrating blockchain research aggressively. And financial infrastructure globally is modernizing much faster than average people expected. That's enormous. Because once institutions stop asking, does blockchain matter? And start asking, how do we safely integrate blockchain into financial systems? The entire industry enters a completely different phase of evolution. That's exactly where many XRP supporters believe the market may be heading now. Now, let's talk about liquidity, because honestly, this is one of the most important parts of the entire conversation. Every single day, trillions of dollars move globally. Corporate settlements, international trade, government transactions, foreign exchange operations, cross-border liquidity systems. The scale is almost impossible for ordinary people to fully comprehend. And yet, despite modern technological advancements, much of the infrastructure handling these movements still contains surprising inefficiencies. settlement delays, operational friction, liquidity fragmentation, cross-border payment inefficiencies. That's exactly why institutions worldwide started aggressively researching blockchain infrastructure more seriously. Because in finance, efficiency matters enormously. Saving seconds at institutional scale can save billions. Improving liquidity movement improves operational efficiency. Reducing friction improves competitiveness globally. And XRP supporters believe Ripple positioned itself directly around those exact institutional conversations years before mainstream finance publicly acknowledged where the world might eventually head. Now here's why investors suddenly believe the next move could become extremely important. Because historically, major financial transitions often appear obvious only after momentum already shifts. At first, most people dismiss early signals completely. Then suddenly, market sentiment changes rapidly. Institutional conversations accelerate, and the broader public begins realizing the financial world may be evolving much faster than expected. That emotional shift creates enormous momentum inside crypto markets, especially around assets connected to long-term institutional narratives, especially XRP. Now again, balance matters because social media exaggerates absolutely everything instantly. There's no guarantee XRP automatically dominates future financial systems. Competition remains intense. Stable coins continue expanding aggressively. Governments may prioritize centralized digital currencies instead. Banks could develop entirely private blockchain infrastructure. And nobody knows exactly how adoption unfolds long-term. But what feels increasingly undeniable now is this. The financial world itself is transforming rapidly. Digital infrastructure is expanding globally. Institutional blockchain adoption is accelerating. Tokenization conversations are exploding worldwide. And XRP continues remaining directly connected to discussions surrounding liquidity movement, settlement modernization, and cross-border interoperability. Now let's talk about tokenization because honestly, this topic may completely reshape global finance over the next decade. Most average people still don't fully understand how enormous tokenization could eventually become. Imagine stocks settling digitally instantly, real estate becoming globally tradable, government bonds moving through blockchain systems, assets trading worldwide 24/7, programmable financial ecosystems operating automatically across borders. That future sounds futuristic today, but major institutions are actively preparing for it right now. Banks are modernizing infrastructure aggressively. Governments are building digital finance frameworks. Asset managers are investing billions into tokenized ecosystems. And financial systems globally are evolving much faster than average people realize. Now think carefully about what happens if enormous amounts of tokenized value eventually move through digital ecosystems globally. Liquidity becomes critical. Settlement efficiency becomes essential. Interoperability between systems becomes incredibly valuable. That's exactly why XRP supporters believe Ripple's infrastructure could eventually become highly important long-term, because Ripple focused specifically on moving liquidity efficiently between systems. Now, another fascinating part of this entire story is interoperability, because even if governments create separate digital currencies, even if banks build different blockchain systems, even if tokenized ecosystems expand globally, those systems still need efficient ways to communicate and move liquidity between each other. Without interoperability, digital finance becomes fragmented and inefficient. Ripple focused specifically on solving interoperability challenges between systems. That's one reason supporters believe XRP could eventually become extremely valuable long-term. Now, let's talk emotionally for a second because, honestly, this is why XRP communities remain so passionate globally after all these years. A lot of people today feel financially exhausted. Inflation reduced purchasing power. Debt levels exploded globally. Housing became harder to afford. Traditional savings feel weaker every year. And meanwhile, giant institutions always seem to position themselves early before ordinary investors fully understand what's happening. That frustration creates enormous emotional energy around disruptive technologies connected to the future. Because people desperately want to believe they still have a chance to participate early in the next major financial transformation before institutions fully dominate it. And that emotional reality is exactly why so many investors suddenly feel like XRP's next move could shock far more people than the market currently expects. Now here's where this entire XRP story starts becoming even more intense. Because once you really begin understanding how market psychology combines with institutional finance, you realize why breaking major levels can completely change investor behavior almost overnight. And honestly, that's exactly why so many investors suddenly feel like something much bigger may already be starting behind the scenes right now. Because historically, major financial transformations usually don't look obvious in the beginning. At first, most people ignore the signals. Then slowly, institutions begin paying attention quietly. Governments start building frameworks. Infrastructure begins evolving. And eventually, the broader public suddenly realizes the financial world changed much faster than expected. That's exactly why XRP supporters became so emotionally invested in this story over the years. Because many believe Ripple spent years preparing for a future the financial system itself is only now beginning to move toward. Now think carefully about what's happening globally right now, all at the same time. Artificial intelligence is transforming industries faster than anyone expected. Governments are building digital currency frameworks aggressively. Banks are modernizing settlement infrastructure worldwide. Asset managers are exploring tokenization at massive scale. And institutions everywhere are preparing for increasingly digital financial ecosystems. That transformation is real. And the craziest part? Most ordinary people still don't fully realize how massive this transition could eventually become. Now think carefully about how global finance actually operates underneath the surface. Most people only see bank apps, online transfers, debit cards, mobile payments. But underneath the surface exists an enormous invisible financial machine moving trillions of dollars globally every single day. Corporate liquidity systems, foreign exchange markets, government debt infrastructure, international trade settlements, cross-border payment systems. Those systems influence the global economy itself. And historically, whenever financial infrastructure evolves dramatically, massive economic shifts often follow. That's exactly why institutions globally are aggressively researching blockchain infrastructure more seriously now. Because improving efficiency at institutional scale can save billions over time. And in finance, even seconds matter. That's why conversations surrounding instant settlement became so emotionally powerful online. Because supporters believe faster settlement could fundamentally reshape how money moves globally. Think carefully about what happens if transactions settle almost instantly at institutional scale. Operational risk decreases. Liquidity movement improves. Capital becomes more efficient. Cross-border friction reduces dramatically. Financial systems become more interconnected. That's not just technological improvement. That's potentially a complete evolution of global financial infrastructure. And XRP supporters believe Ripple positioned itself directly around that future years before most people understood where finance might eventually head. Now, let's talk about Ripple specifically, because honestly, this is where the conversation becomes incredibly important. Ripple focused directly on cross-border settlement, liquidity movement, financial interoperability, payment modernization. Those are trillion-dollar institutional conversations. And now suddenly, the financial world itself appears to be moving directly toward the exact conversations Ripple spent years preparing for. That's why supporters believe XRP may already be attracting increasing institutional attention quietly behind the scenes. Now again, balance matters because social media exaggerates absolutely everything instantly. Breaking a major market level does not guarantee endless price increases. There is no official confirmation proving XRP instantly becomes the center of global finance tomorrow. Large-scale infrastructure transitions take years. Governments move carefully. Banks require compliance. Institutions prioritize stability. That's critical to understand. But what fuels online excitement is a broader transformation already happening across global finance itself. Because honestly, the world today looks dramatically different compared to early crypto years. Back then, blockchain is fake. Crypto has no utility. Digital assets will disappear. Today, Governments are building crypto regulations. Banks are integrating blockchain infrastructure research. Asset managers are exploring tokenization aggressively. Stablecoins are becoming infrastructure tools. And institutions globally are preparing for increasingly digital financial ecosystems. That transformation is very real. Now, let's talk about tokenization again, because honestly, this topic may completely reshape the global economy over the next decade. Most people still don't fully understand how enormous tokenization could eventually become worldwide. Imagine stocks settling digitally instantly, real estate becoming globally tradable, government bonds moving through blockchain systems, assets trading worldwide 24/7, programmable financial ecosystems operating automatically across borders. That future sounds futuristic today, but major institutions are actively preparing for it right now. Banks are modernizing infrastructure aggressively. Governments are building digital finance frameworks. Asset managers are investing billions into tokenized ecosystems. And financial systems globally are evolving much faster than average people realize. Now think carefully about what happens if enormous amounts of tokenized value eventually move through digital ecosystems worldwide. Liquidity becomes absolutely critical. Settlement efficiency becomes essential. Interoperability between systems becomes incredibly valuable. That's exactly why XRP supporters believe Ripple's infrastructure could eventually become highly important long-term, because Ripple focused specifically on moving liquidity efficiently between systems. Now, another fascinating part of this entire story is interoperability. And honestly, interoperability may become one of the most important concepts in future finance. Because even if governments create separate digital currencies, even if banks build different blockchain systems, even if tokenized ecosystems expand globally, those systems still need efficient ways to communicate and move liquidity between each other. Without interoperability, digital finance becomes fragmented and inefficient. Ripple focused specifically on solving interoperability challenges between systems. That's one reason supporters believe XRP could eventually become extremely valuable long-term. Now here's another reason investors suddenly believe XRP's next move could shock the market. Because regulatory clarity is improving globally. Institutional adoption is accelerating. Digital asset discussions became mainstream political conversation. Banks are integrating blockchain research more aggressively. And financial systems themselves are modernizing much faster than average people expected. That combination creates enormous speculation around assets connected to institutional utility, especially XRP. Now let's talk emotionally for a second, because honestly, this is why XRP communities remain so passionate globally after all these years. A lot of people today feel financially uncertain. Inflation continues hurting purchasing power. Debt levels remain enormous worldwide. Housing became harder to afford. Traditional savings feel weaker every year. And meanwhile, giant institutions always seem to position themselves early before ordinary investors fully understand what's happening. That frustration creates enormous emotional energy around disruptive technologies connected to the future. Because people desperately want to believe they still have a chance to participate early in the next major financial transformation before institutions fully dominate it. That emotional reality fuels massive blockchain communities worldwide. And XRP specifically remains emotionally powerful because supporters believe Ripple focus on infrastructure instead of short-term speculation. Now, obviously, critics still raise legitimate concerns too. Competition remains intense. Stablecoins continue expanding aggressively. Governments may prioritize centralized digital currencies instead. Banks could develop entirely private blockchain infrastructure. And nobody knows exactly how the future unfolds. But one thing feels increasingly undeniable now. The financial world is transforming rapidly. Digital infrastructure is expanding globally. Institutional blockchain adoption is accelerating. Tokenization conversations are exploding worldwide. And XRP continues remaining directly connected to discussions surrounding liquidity movement, settlement modernization, and cross-border interoperability. That's exactly why so many investors suddenly feel like XRP may be entering one of the most important moments in its entire history right now. Because whether people fully understand it yet or not, The next generation of global finance may already be starting to emerge.